So here is a video that I took the other night, last night actually, doing the indoor rower. I did it with the elevation mask on. I like to do my rowing with the elevation mask. I feel like it gives me a really good opportunity to practice and exercise my proper breathing. Underneath that mask, I'm nose breathing exclusively the entire time. And I like it because it forces me to have to breathe harder, and that forces me to breathe using my diaphragm. So breathing with that resistance mask on my face helps me exercise and condition my diaphragm, but it also helps me improve my carbon dioxide tolerance and allows me to be reliant on a slightly lower level of oxygen during the performance, during my exercise. So when I get into the rower, what you can see, the first thing that I do is I strap my feet in, obviously, but I always make sure to keep it a little bit loose. I don't want this to buckle my toes down. I want there to be a little bit of a float in my toes because I'm not relying on my toes to catch me when I propel myself back. Okay, I'm relying on my quads to produce a controlled enough explosion so that I don't end up needing to rely on the straps around my toes to keep me from flying back all the way. You can see how loose my toes are inside of that. There's quite a bit of play. I'm doing this just really for a warm-up. Get my knees and my hips warmed up a little bit. And then here I go. And you see that when I pull the handle, that cable is parallel to the ground. And incidentally, my wrists and my forearms are parallel to the ground. And this really allows me to rely on my back, my lats, my lower and middle traps, my rhomboids, to really pull my elbows and my scapula back. That's really where I'm going to get the most strength and the biggest bang for my buck with this. Also, I'm trying to keep my chest up and my thoracic back relatively straight. I don't want to round forward. I'm only bringing those handles in as far as my bent knees will allow me, and then pulling it right back to my belly button. And I'm going to fast forward it, and this way you can hear my breathing pattern while I do it. And what you'll notice is that my breathing, my inhale and my exhale, is irrespective of where I am in the movement, whether I'm on my way in or on my way out, whether I'm relaxing or I'm exerting. My breathing pattern remains pretty constant, and that's because I've got a certain amount of core strength, a certain amount of core tension already baked into this movement. My core is braced, and this really allows me the protection of an unimpeded, more natural breathing pattern. Because if I were to have to brace my core and then breathe, obviously that presents certain challenges and force me to breathe at a certain cadence relative to where I'm at in performing each rep. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to maintain as much of a natural breathing pattern as I can. And in order for me to do that, I've got to brace my core in a certain way. And then one of the things I do towards the end of this is I start doing them one leg at a time. And what I did was about 250 meters with the left leg, about 250 meters with the right. And again, you see my toe isn't buckled in there very tightly at all. My right leg is essentially out of the way, trying to keep my shoulders square over my hips. Trying to present a big, proud chest. at the backside of every repetition. Switch legs 250 meters later. And one thing I want you to pay attention to when you're doing the rower, the three most important numbers you could look at. On here we see an upside down 228. So that's my 500 meter time. That's the intensity. I'm moving enough water underneath me, or simulating that, where in 500 meters it would take me 228 seconds at the current intensity. Another important number is elapsed time, and then lastly, your distance. But those are the three numbers that I'm always looking at. I make sure that they're always apparent on the screen and that I can see them. And this row ended up being about 6,000 meters or so. If you look how much of a gap is between my foot and the foot plate, I don't have it that tight at all. All nose breathing. And that's all she wrote. Hope that was useful. Let me know if you have any questions.